数年後には四空やさ海賊王にあおれ
I love him so much. Seeing characters fail in TV shows is bound to happen in certain situations. It can happen with protagonists, antagonists, or even the true neutrals. Usually when the protagonist is failing, it's sad to see. You know, they're the good guys, the characters you're following the most, so it's natural you want them to succeed in the story. While the villains are ones you want to see fail or face an utter defeat in some way, which in most stories is inevitable. But it comes down to how the story executes their downfall that makes it feel exciting or not, even though you know it's going to happen. But in some cases, you'll get villains or antagonists that have naturally pathetic and laughable personalities even within the context of their shows, yet will continue to succeed despite their constant blundering. And I absolutely love that. Because in pretty much every instance, the characters in question are funny enough to where I don't care if they don't deserve to be at the top. If anything, it just makes them more entertaining than they were before. This is a trope I wish was done in more shows, not even just cartoons or anime, as these characters will cement themselves as some of mine and many others' favorites of all time. So I wanted to go over some of my personal favorite examples of this trope, and I'm curious if you guys feel the same. Or maybe you'll be hearing of some of these characters for the first time in your life, in which case maybe you'll give the series they're from a shot. Starting with my personal favorite. Behold, everyone, the future king of the pirates. I'm only half joking when I say this, by the way, but it would be very in line with Oda to give Buggy a massive dub like this by the end of One Piece. Like, even if Luffy actually got the title, the media would still portray Buggy in a larger light. If anyone wanted to incorporate a character who's done nothing but fail upwards throughout years of content while still making consumers laugh along the way, Buggy is the perfect example to get some inspiration from, in my opinion. This guy is so unbelievably stupid, yet continues to win at every turn. As a young boy who journeyed together with the Roger Pirates, which was the second strongest pirate crew of all time. Maybe the strongest, but Rock's pirates were a thing, so Either way, you'd think Buggy would grow up to be this super strong pirate as an adult, you know, over 1 billion bounty like his old pal Shanks, right? Not even close, as Buggy is someone who's always looking for an easy way out, manipulating those dumber than him to do his dirty work while he chills for the most part, outside his main circle, who he does care for. His main strategy became trying to build strength with as many subordinates as possible, as Buggy on his own can't really do much in terms of displaying power. His bounty pre-time skip was only 15 million, which at the time wasn't even the highest in the East Blue. No kind of hockey whatsoever, with his most threatening part about him being his devil fruit that lets his body split apart, even, you know, float around if it wants to. What's crazy is, Buggy could be ridiculously strong with this devil fruit if he were to combine it with the 3 forms of hockey. Yes, I think him having conquerors would be hilarious, as he's already basically immune to all slicing attacks without it, and I imagine Oda knows that this would be the case too. Buggy just chooses to be a lazy fuck, and he's honestly all the better for it. From after his first defeat against Luffy through most of the Grand Line arcs, Buggy laid low and stayed a loser. It wasn't really until the events of Impel Down onward where Buggy's rise through failure truly began, as he was arrested off screen and placed in level 2 of the prison, the second weakest tier based on criminal history and strength. While he did technically help in some areas of escaping the prison to join the Marineford War, he had the least amount of true impact out of any of the other main players on Luffy's side. I mean, hell, the other prisoners kept worshipping him over misunderstandings that he would, you know, roll with because he loved being praised by so many people. This string of pushing a Buggy agenda would continue in Marineford through media manipulation since the war was being filmed, like people thinking he was actually going to fight Whitebeard at a point. But to give him credit, he did actually save Luffy and Jinbei from Akainu towards the tail end of the arc. These factors, combined with the revelation Buggy used to be a Roger pirate to the world, prompted the world government to offer him a spot as one of the 7 warlords of the sea after the time skip. He realistically deserves none of this, by the way, yet continues to gloat about the power he receives. It's textbook imposter syndrome, but it's hilarious every time. Just when it seems like Buggy will get rolled again, something bails him out. Like when the warlord system was abolished after the recent Reverie meeting, which made all the warlords wanted pirates again. As the Navy was in the middle of pulling up to his island, Crocodile and Mr. One destroyed the Navy ship so they could collect a debt Buggy owed them. And since Buggy had no money, he offered to be Crocodile's bitch until further notice, leading to the team up between he, Buggy, and Mihawk to form the Cross Guild, with Buggy as its main figurehead. Although this pissed Crocodile and Mihawk off at first, they weren't against having Buggy take the heat if things went south. So while Buggy is technically these guys' whipping boy until further notice, he's still recognized by the entire world as one of the 4 emperors alongside Luffy, Shanks, and Blackbeard, which is the highest achievement for a pirate captain outside the Pirate King title itself. I gotta respect it at this point, refusing to actually put the work in, yet still managing to make it this high in the pirate world hierarchy. One thing's for sure is this guy is great at riling people up like Luffy can. I hope the theory about other warlords joining Cross Guild later on becomes true. Imagine Doflamingo and Gecko Moria part of that already stacked squad. Cinema. I remember growing up seeing this guy's outfit used to make me feel uncomfortable, but eventually realized it was my own insecurities. Rock that miniskirt, king. You got it. Like Buggy, Zap is one of Futurama's funniest characters for a lot of people, but not exactly for the same reasons. Obviously, both of these guys have imposter syndrome, but the thing about Zap is even though he got praised and promoted by the ignorant masses over time, he never really had any actual character growth, at least not as much as Buggy. This isn't really a bad thing though, as it makes Zap's failing upwards just as funny because of his lack of any redeeming qualities within Futurama's verse, especially his dating life. The guy gives off heavy Johnny Bravo energy in the sense that while he may be conventionally attractive in this universe, the way he goes about picking up women is so bad, it's resulted in his dating life over the years being less than successful. Zap also has no issues flaunting his questionable moral compass when it comes to his job as a military officer, sacrificing his own men for reckless jobs or even destroying important structures that were never meant to be touched. Usually Kif is the one at the receiving end of a lot of Zap's antics and sometimes shares blame even when he had nothing to do with any of Zap's doings. Yet the show continues to give Zap more chances to screw things up. At one point he was discharged from Dupe for lasering a $400 billion space station in half, yet was somehow allowed to rejoin and has continued to hold power over entire crews of men. Zap's funny for sure, but his behavior is a lot worse than someone like Buggy, to be honest. Buggy's no saint, but the body count on Zap is crazy high, and a lot of it being his own men makes it so much worse. So it's all the more baffling how Dupe even manages to find people willing to work for the sleazebag nutcase. If Glab were to ever die, it wouldn't surprise me if Zap became the next president of the org instead of Kif. Patrick's a weird character to gauge when it comes to failing upwards, as unlike the previous two series, SpongeBob is an episodic show with no larger scale story at play, so anytime failing upwards happens in the show, it's completely contained in the episode it happens in, with no effect on newer episodes going forward. But with that being said, it does feel like Patrick has experienced failing in general, but also failing upwards more than any of the other main characters. Even if you look at the way this guy exists in general, the fact that he's able to survive for as long as he does with no kind of income while remaining happy is something for sure. I'd say a good example is the one where Patrick pretended to be Patricia, as well in that disguise, everyone was waiting on him hand and foot. Or when he was briefly revealed to be of royal lineage in the Rule of Dumb episode, his time as a king was a bit short-lived, as later on Gary was the one who had the rights to the throne, but the fact that Patrick had any power at all during that period of time was crazy. Patrick was one of those very hit or miss characters depending on the episode. Like the Patricia episode was actually funny to me, but he was pretty insufferable in Rule of Dumb. The moment he found out he might be royalty, he started treating all his friends like garbage. I'm gonna keep this section about Homer pretty brief, as I personally don't think I can give a better explanation about Homer's success through failure than Mr. Hank Grimes over here. Take it away.
God, I've had to work hard every day of my life, and what do I have to show for it? This briefcase and this haircut. And what do you have to show for your lifetime of sloth and ignorance?
What?
Everything! A dream house, 2 cars, a beautiful wife, a son who owns a factory, fancy clothes, and lobsters for dinner!
Mr. Satan, Hercule, or even sometimes referred to as Mark, is one of Dragon Ball's most delusional characters ever created, and he's hilarious for it. Even when compared to most shonen anime characters, Mr. Satan is on the weaker side despite having very solid fighting skills, but in a series like Dragon Ball where half the main cast can blow planets up, he's nothing too out of the ordinary. The thing with him is, he's a pathological liar who will at times believe the BS that comes out of his mouth. Buggy will talk a big game, but in the back of his mind he knows he's kind of a bitch. Not quite the case with Mr. Satan though. He'll go on about how the Z-Fighter group are disciples of his, and seems to care more about the glory and praise heroes receive rather than actually fighting villains or saving lives. But it kind of works out though, because the Z-Fighters prefer the anonymity, as I'm sure it would be extremely difficult to do their jobs if fans were constantly stopping them asking for autographs and whatnot. One of the most noteworthy instances of Mr. Satan taking credit for something he didn't do was claiming he won the Cell games by defeating Cell, when in reality it was Gohan who beat him. With another instance in Dragon Ball Super, only he was taking credit for stopping Beerus. But just because he likes the fame doesn't make him a bad guy though. He's a very family-oriented man and loves his daughter Videl, having no problem accepting Gohan into his side of the family as he and Videl would eventually get together. Out of all the failing upwards characters mentioned so far, this guy easily has the most likable personality since he's so honorable. His worst crime is being a bit of an egomaniac, but it's mostly harmless to be honest. Once again, a bit of a different video from what you're probably used to me covering. I'm still trying to experiment with content more, and I figure now is still a good time, as opposed to not posting anything and treating the channel like an Invincible Season 4 Digital Circus Episode 8 waiting room. fun. Plus, it beats playing Deadlock for more hours than I realistically should be. I love that game, but good lord, can some of those matches last long? Let me know in the comments if you have a favorite failing upwards character, especially if they weren't mentioned in this video. I'd love to know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.